Hello everyone, it is Sunday, May the 10th. I'm Michelle and this is Knitting on the Side. I wanted to come in and show you some of the projects that I've been working on in the past few days. As far as like my new yarn projects, I did work on the baby blanket. I think the last time I showed you I was down here, so I've done two and a partial repeat of the pattern since then. Looks the same as the other repeats that I've done. It's just getting bigger and my yarn ball's getting smaller. But it's gotten a little warmer. It's not as cool as it has been, so I haven't worked on it quite as much as I did last week. My other project with newer yarn is my Anker Tee. Last time I showed you this one, I was on my fourth repeat of the ribbing, right in about here. And I've finished it and I've started on my fifth one. And that will be my last section of ribbing before I start doing the stockinette. The ribbing goes pretty slow because if you're not a knitter, you don't know, but every time you make a stitch when you're doing one by one ribbing, you have to move the yarn back and forth between the stitches before you can actually make the stitch. So you're doing a lot of extra movements to get the progress. So it's pretty slow through that section, but I like the way it looks. Hopefully it looks good when it's all done. It's slow, but it's progression. On my old stash yarn projects, I was going to start the mixed rib cami, but we've been pretty busy this past few days doing some manual labor around our place, so I haven't started it yet, and I've had all these other projects working on, so it'll get done. It's just not a priority. I went through some stash yarn here a while back and I came across some cotton terry that I had a piece of it. So I used it to make a dishcloth. And then I still have another little piece left over. It's not enough to make another dishcloth, but I am going to stick this in. I have a container that I put all of my cotton scraps in. So like if I have cotton yarn that's suitable for making dishcloths, but it's not enough to make a dishcloth, I throw those all in one container, and then eventually I'll tie them together and make a magic ball and just make scrap dishcloths. And I'll just start at one end and just start making dishcloths, and the yarn will change and they'll be striped weird on the diagonal because they go corner to corner, and they make interesting dishcloths. But I don't know, here a few years ago I had a big ball of cotton that I had left over from some blanket projects that I had made, and I got, I don't know, about 20 dishcloths out of it. It was kind of fun seeing how they change colors and knit up. My leftover scrap yarn from the petal drop socks, I went ahead and put it to use, and I told you I'd make hexa puffs, and I did. I've gotten 3 full puffs out of it, and I had almost enough. I wasn't sure if I was going to get a 4th one out of it. I got close. I think I have a few more rows left, and I ran out of having enough to finish. But I have some other scrap yarns, and I'll just finish it off with another color and have a multicolored puff. So that will use up all of that yarn. Gone, no more scraps of it. And then other scrap yarn project that I was working on was the hats with the vintage, very old Diana yarn from Patons. And I've gotten one beanie completely finished. This is one adult size beanie. And I started a second one, and I'm losing stitches. I got the ribbing done for a second one, and I still have quite a bit of yarn left. So I will keep working on the hats to use up the fuzzy Diana yarn. I like hats because they don't take up a lot of room on your lap, so when it's hot like it is now, they're not a bad project to work on. The UFO project. I had pulled out my Splendor Circle Coat to work on, and that is made with worsted weight acrylic yarn. I'm using a size F hook, so it is extremely dense and it does not breathe. And I tried working on that last night. I got a few rounds on the sleeve, and I only had it over part of my lap, and it was so hot. I brought it back today and put it back on the UFO shelf because I am not going to be sweating like that when it's this hot out. It's not worth it. That coat's been in progress for years. It can just stay on the hook for a little longer. So I did pull out a different UFO project that I'm going to work on instead. And this one is a kit that I got from Knit Picks a few years back. It's called Frost Slippers. You can see they're colorwork slippers. They also have you doing a colorwork sole on them. I started the soles. I finished the upper portion. You knit both sides together around and around. Since it is colorwork, it's easier to do it that way. And then you're supposed to cut them apart on the sides. And you're supposed to cut right through here, because this little hole that you leave right here becomes the part where your foot goes in. And then these are like the sides of the heels. And you seam the back. This side will be sewn to this side. So I got the tops done, and I started the bottoms, and I did not like the way the bottoms were working up. I didn't like the way that you did the brown stitches on the sides, and then you had to figure out where your red stitches were going, and I was getting off on it. And I don't know, the whole time I was working on it, I was thinking, this is going to wear through so quickly that it's not even worth it to knit it. So what I think would be a better choice on the slippers, since right now it's spring and we're going into summer, and they're like starting to sell flip-flops in the store. I think what I'm going to do is buy some flip-flops and use the soles of the flip-flops and sew the upper portion onto a flip-flop sole, and then either knit or purchase an insole to put inside. And that way the bottoms of the slippers are not going to wear through in a couple of months. After putting the amount of work into making a pair of slippers, I hate it when you get a hole in them too quickly. If they're an easy kind of slipper, because there are some that I make that they don't take me but a couple of hours, and I don't really mind those wearing through quickly. But these took more than a couple of hours. So I think I want them to last longer. So I think I'm just going to put some flip-flop soles instead of knitted soles and actually make them worth the amount of time that I'm putting into them. So I pulled them out so that I can kind of think about finishing these up instead. So they're going to make pretty slippers. I like that little kind of a Norwegian sort of star on the top there. It's pretty. So that is my UFO project that I pulled out to work on instead because it is much smaller. And as far as my small projects or a sock project, I told you that I would start on my DK weight socks with my Drops Fiesta yarn, and I did. This pattern is called But First Socks by Claire Borchardt, and her website is afibercollective.com. And they are a toe-up sock that you start here. You do a Judy's Magic cast on, and then for this portion where it's increasing, because you start at the skinny part and you keep making it bigger to fit over your foot, for that part I did a magic loop, and I really don't care for magic loop. I know how to do it, and I do it when I have to. But then I switched to my 9-inch circular needle because I did have one the right size, and I knit so far the rest of it with the 9-inch circular. Last night I got to the point that I was done doing my gusset increases, because you have to make it wide enough to go over your heel. And then when you get done with making it wide enough, you have to do what's called turning the heel to make it skinny again, so that it goes skinnier up to the cuff of your leg. So last night I got all that portion done, and I put it on a longer needle because to me it looked pretty skinny for my feet. So I wanted to try it on. So I put a longer needle in there so that I could try it on, and it fits. It does. I was surprised because I kept looking at it as I was going up the foot going, I don't know about this. I don't know about this, but I didn't want to switch it to a bigger needle and try it. But after I got the heel done, I thought I better try it before I go any farther. So yeah, it's ribbing, so it stretches out quite a bit. It just looks so skinny when I was knitting it. And after I've gotten up to the point that the heel is done, let me kind of squish it up so you can see. I've got this much yarn left to do my cuff. So I will knit until this is about gone and I have enough to do a bind off. I don't know. I think I'll probably get at least 2 inches, maybe 3 out of it. But that's how tall this sock's going to be, because I've got 2 balls of it and the other one's got to make the other sock. So that is how those are coming along. I am still on the first sock, but figured out the Flegel heel. It worked. So we're doing good. And once I get where I'm pretty close to running out of this yarn, I'll go ahead and start that other sock so that I can keep track, and as I get close, because one ball could be just a little bit shorter than the other one, where I might get a couple less rows. I don't want to make one sock, 3 inches tall and then only be able to get 2.5 inches out of the other ball of yarn. So when I get close, I'll get caught up on the other sock, and then I'll finish them off a row at a time together until I know that they're going to come out even. Also, I have been looking at patterns to make something else for the baby that's getting the baby blanket. And I came across a pattern that one of the YouTubers that I like to watch, she's made several pairs of chunky rib pants, and she swears by them. So I thought I would make a pair for this baby. And since I'm going to make the pants, I'm going to make probably a 6 to 9 month size, because the baby's due in late July, and it lives in the Midwest US, so during the summertime it's going to be too hot for knitted pants, period. But in the wintertime, they'll be perfect. So I thought I'd make 6 to 9 months so that it works out that the baby would be able to wear them when it's the coldest. So I found some yarn in my stash. It is a DK weight. It's called Yarn Bee Fresco fiber, and the color is red. And I have 1.5 balls of it, and that should be plenty for a 6 to 9 month pair of pants. So I'm going to try and get these done here pretty quickly, along with the baby blanket. The child's grandmother is going to be visiting in less than 2 weeks, and I would love to be able to send these with her, because the baby's back there where she lives. And because I mailed that little Sophie scarf off the other day, that thing does not weigh very much. With everything that I mailed in the package, it less than a pound probably. It cost $8.30 to mail that little bitty package. It was just little. And I don't want to have to mail this baby blanket and pants, and I've got some socks that I want to send with her, and maybe like a hat or something else. I'm sure I'll find something else that I want to do. But yeah, I don't want to have to mail that. I mean, that would cost an arm and a leg for what the current postage rates are. So if I can get that done by the 20th, I can send it home with the grandma, and that way I don't have to mail it. I don't know how postage is everywhere else in the world, but in the US, it is not cheap. I can order something and have it delivered from another country cheaper than what I could send the same package from my house to my friend. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's the way we live. So, anyways, that is what I've been working on and what I'm planning for the next few days to get done. So, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.